Colon cancer used to be something we only worried about for grandparents, but that picture has completely flipped, and right now it's quietly becoming one of the fastest growing cancers in people under 50, which is honestly terrifying when you realize how preventable it actually is. Welcome back, and I'm Dr. Leana, and today I want to walk you through exactly why this is happening and what you can do starting this week to flip your internal terrain into something that protects you instead of slowly working against you. Because the truth is, cancer doesn't simply land on someone out of nowhere. It grows inside conditions that allow it to grow, and those conditions are being created earlier and earlier in life thanks to the way we eat, move, sleep, and medicate ourselves. Every new generation consumes more sugar, more ultra-processed food, more seed oils, more antibiotics, and moves less than the one before it. And the result is a population that is metabolically broken at younger ages, with widespread insulin resistance, chronic low-grade inflammation, sluggish bowels, and a gut microbiome that looks nothing like what it should. And when the stool sits too long in a colon already inflamed and irritated, the lining gets bathed in toxins and irritants hour after hour, day after day, which is the perfect soil for abnormal cells to start misbehaving. The single most important upstream driver here is insulin resistance, because insulin isn't just a blood sugar hormone. It is what we call mitogenic and anabolic, meaning it literally pushes cells to divide faster and to grow bigger, which is exactly what you don't want when stray abnormal cells are floating around looking for permission to multiply. And on top of that, insulin resistance keeps your average blood glucose higher, and cancer cells absolutely feast on glucose, which is why PET scans use a radioactive sugar tracer in the first place, because tumors light up like a Christmas tree when you feed them sugar. They pull it in like a sponge, so every time you spike your blood sugar with soda, candy, pastries, or refined carbs, you are essentially handing fuel to any rogue cells in your body. Insulin resistance also parks fat around your midsection, and visceral belly fat is not passive storage. It acts almost like an inflammatory organ, pumping out chemical signals that drive system-wide inflammation, which is again the exact environment where cancer thrives. So reversing insulin resistance has to sit at the top of your priority list. And you do that by cutting out liquid sugar first, then ultra-processed foods, then refined flour, and by stopping the endless grazing pattern most people fall into, where they're eating from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to bed. Because that constant drip of food keeps insulin elevated all day long. A simple shift is time-restricted eating, where you compress your meals into roughly an 8-hour window, maybe skipping breakfast and eating from noon to 8, or eating earlier and stopping by 4 in the afternoon. And this single change drops insulin, gives your repair systems time to actually do their job, and lets your gut rest between meals instead of constantly processing. From there, you build what I call an anti-cancer plate, which leans heavily on non-starchy vegetables, leafy greens, and especially cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cabbage, kale, and Brussels sprouts, because they contain sulfur compounds and indoles that have real cancer-protective effects. And you pair that with fiber from a wide variety of whole foods like nuts, seeds, and berries, since different fibers feed different beneficial bacteria, and diversity in the gut is what creates resilience. The rest of your calories should come from quality proteins and healthy fats like pasture-raised eggs, real butter, olive oil, fatty fish, and well-sourced meat, while you keep starches and sugars low and occasional. Daily movement is non-negotiable, and you don't need to crush yourself in the gym. Even a gentle walk after meals dramatically blunts the blood sugar spike, because working muscles pull glucose straight out of the bloodstream without needing insulin to do it. And adding some resistance training a few times a week builds muscle that acts like a metabolic sink for the rest of your life. Plus, movement physically stimulates peristalsis, so things actually move through your colon instead of stagnating. On the gut side specifically, when you feed the right bacteria the right fibers, they reward you by producing butyrate, a short-chain fatty acid that is literally the preferred fuel of the cells lining your colon, the colonocytes. And when those cells are well fed, they repair properly, maintain a tight barrier, and resist turning cancerous. So you want to support them with fermented foods like sauerkraut, kimchi, kefir, and yogurt if you tolerate dairy, and occasionally a quality probiotic, while aggressively avoiding the things that destroy this ecosystem, which means cutting sugar that selectively feeds pathogenic species and being extremely cautious with antibiotics, using them only when something is genuinely serious or life-threatening, rather than for every minor infection your immune system could handle on its own in a few extra days. While prevention is the goal, you still want to know the warning signs, so pay attention to persistent constipation, ongoing bloating, blood in the stool, whether bright red near the exit or dark and tarry from higher up, pencil-thin stools that suggest something is narrowing the passage, and any sudden change in bowel habits that doesn't resolve in a week or so. And depending on your age, family history, and symptoms, screening through colonoscopy or newer non-invasive microbiome stool tests can give you valuable information. Though remember that detection is not prevention. It just catches what's already there. So the real work is everything you do before it ever gets to that point. The deeper truth is that the colon does not operate in isolation, and the conventional model of having a separate specialist for every organ misses this entirely. Because in reality, your nervous system, immune system, hormones, gut, and metabolism are all one connected web. And everything you do falls into three categories: the chemical, which is food, the structural, which is movement, and the emotional, which is sleep and stress. And people often assume food helps insulin, sleep helps immunity, and movement helps circulation. But the reality is, each of these three pillars helps all of those outcomes simultaneously, which is why if you eat clean but never sleep and grind 80-hour weeks under chronic stress, your gut will still be a mess. You need all three legs of the table standing at once. And when they are, you create an internal environment where your cells heal, your microbiome flourishes, your inflammation drops, your insulin normalizes, and cancer cells simply cannot find the conditions they need to take hold, which is the most powerful form of prevention there is. So if this resonated with you, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell, and stick around, because the next video builds directly on this one and could genuinely change the trajectory of your health.